Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode If You Could Hide to Kolob podcast. My name's Daniel. This is my brother Clive.
Hello, everybody, and welcome through Easter down now, Daniel, back into the Come Follow Me lesson. So exciting to get back into it.
Yep, straight back into Moses. And today we talk about the plagues. But first of all, why don't you give us the quote?
Okay, so the quote today comes from the Come Follow Me lesson from the actual manual, which is it's always good. It's always good to read through. And, you know, I looked at this and there's a lot of questions in the Come Follow Me manual, and sometimes they're really obvious questions like, what can we do to be better, or how can we pray better, and things like that. And it's understandable because it's for families, and sometimes basic questions are for children, but sometimes they spark interesting conversation. So this one here. So we're going to talk a lot about Pharaoh and how he didn't let the people go. It says here, hopefully your will is never opposed to God's will as Pharaoh was. Still, we all have times when our hearts aren't as soft as they should be. And I was thinking about, I didn't want to ask the question, but I was thinking about how we can relate to when Pharaoh says, I won't let your people go, to times when we see a miracle happen and we go, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to change my heart. I'm going to do what the Lord says. And then once the miracle's over, we go, you know what? I'm actually happy with where I am.
Yeah, that's interesting. I had in my calling, I have a meeting with the stake president every few months. And one of those I remember you've just reminded me when he talked about that your testimony is not built up of lots of big things, but it's actually built up of lots of tiny, tiny things. The big things are good and great for experiences, but in reality, the big things are forgotten, and it's all about kind of the day to day. All right, let's go. So we are doing Exodus chapter 7, and we're going all the way to Exodus chapter 13. So at this stage, Moses has gone from being kind of a reluctant intermediary between God and the people who are of Hebrew and the Egyptians. He's gone from being this kind of reluctant, I really don't want anything to do with it, I'm really not that good, and God convincing him is going, no, you're going to go say this, and look, if you throw your stick on the ground, I'll show you it's going to turn into a snake. And so Moses kind of, I almost feel like is getting dragged, almost kicking and screaming here, to the point to fulfill the measure of his creation, and he has the burning bush. So anyway, so now he's at the point where he has received his prophetic call. He is now the outright leader, and he's now at a point where he needs to represent his people for the greater good. The Egyptians need to essentially allow the Israelites to be free and go and leave the area. What does free mean? Free to worship religiously as they see fit. So leave the land, go to their own place, and be able to worship God and be able to continue the covenants that they have and more that will come. So this is really where we're up to now. And so we're kind of straight into the text. Talk to Pharaoh, this is what he's going to do. And then we go straight into some miracles and some plagues.
Before we get into the miracles, Daniel, I just want to point something out, something very, very important. There's many people who believe the Bible is infallible. There's nothing in here that is wrong. And I don't want to prove that the Bible has false things in it, but I just want to show the importance of the Joseph Smith translation. So it's the very first bit. I mean, there's quite a few in this chapter. So I'll just run a quick few before we get into the miracles. The very first one, and the Lord said unto Moses, see, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Well, the Lord hasn't made Moses a god to Pharaoh. The Lord has made Moses a prophet to Pharaoh, and Aaron as a spokesman. And that's a Joseph Smith translation. If we look down the bottom, prophet instead of God, and spokesman instead of prophet for Aaron. So it's important to know that the Lord has ordained him to be a prophet, and Aaron is his spokesman. And then we jump down to verse 3. This is again something we talked about the last time we talked about Moses. I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. No, no, no. Let's look at the footnotes. Pharaoh will harden his heart, as I said unto thee, and thou shalt multiply my signs. So the Lord isn't. So actually, quite a few times when it talks about Pharaoh hardening his heart, it's saying the Lord hardens Pharaoh's heart. That's not the case. Then the last one I just want to mention is verse 4. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto thee, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt and bring forth mine armies, and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt to the judgments. If you look down at number 4 here, but Pharaoh will not hearken, then I will. So Pharaoh shall not hearken to you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt. Well, the Lord's not. Pharaoh will not hearken, then I will lay my hand upon Egypt. So it's very, you've got to really look at it and go, okay, what are we trying to say here? If we're trying to break down the Bible each verse by each verse, we need to truly understand what the verse is actually saying without trying to justify what the Lord means when he says, I will harden Pharaoh's heart, as many other people have tried to do in the past. So I just want to get that out of the way because there is a few times when we'll come across it. But now we'll talk about the miracles.
Okay. Clive, in verse 2, the Lord quickly just sets out how they're going to do this, the how. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee. So the Lord is going to speak to Moses, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land. So we have the play here. God is going to talk to Moses. Moses will inform Aaron. Aaron will inform Pharaoh. So there is a chain here of how this is actually going to operate. And that's important because we'll see that there's a commandment given to Moses, and then there's a whole bunch of talking, and then Aaron goes ahead and does that thing. And we'll see that right the way through these chapters. So first one is in 9. So we're on chapter 7 of Exodus 9. When Pharaoh shall speak unto you, saying, show a miracle for you, then thou shalt say unto Aaron, take thy rod, cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become a serpent. So this is the first thing that happens. We see that that same rod, this miracle, has already occurred once before. When Christ was trying to teach Moses, show him the power, he the same thing happened. Stick on the ground, becomes a serpent. In this case, the exact same thing happens, but in the face of Pharaoh and also his magicians. Because then we read, then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, now the magicians of Egypt. They also did in like manner with their enchantments. For they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods, and he hearkened Pharaoh's heart, and he hearkened not unto the Lord, not to them as the Lord had said. So this is the first real encounter that we have of these miraculous type things. This is a very, very big deal, but it's nothing like what comes later. It's actually a completely different scenario, whereas they're having almost a cordial conversation, and this first serpent happens. And it is quite strange. The text does not tell us anywhere near the amount that we wish we would know. I mean, these are crazy miracles, and the adversary is somehow able to also get the sticks of the magicians and able to turn them into serpents. Is that how you see it as well here, Clive? Or do you see something different? Or do you see God going, all right, you know what? Everyone who chucks their stick on the ground, it's going to be a snake.
No, I see it quite differently. So I really like magic, and I watch a TV show called Penn and Teller Foolers all the time.
Right.
And these two magicians, Penn and Teller, they sort of sit back and they have these magic people do these things, and they discuss with each other how they think it might have been done, and they say, yeah, you fooled us or you didn't fool us. And now I see it like this. Pharaoh's called his men. He hasn't called one man, he's called many men. And they've come together and they've discussed and gone, okay, how do you think he's done this? How do you think he's done this? There is a trick that you can do, and I won't pronounce how to do it because I don't know how to pronounce. But there is a magic trick that you can do where you put pressure on the back of a cobra's neck, a certain nerve and it makes them go really stiff and hard. And to anyone else, it looks like a stick because you can't just walk around holding a cobra and it'd be a stick. They're like, well, that's obviously a stick. But then when you throw it down to the ground, it sort of wakes them up. Like it hits them and like the nerve's been let go and then they're sort of awakened. So they wake up, they start squirming around again. You can pick them back up and you can do that again if you're good at it. So I think, I mean, I'm not saying that's how they did it, but there are ways of doing it. And I think because we'll start talking about the plagues now, and they do copy a lot of the plagues, but then they get to a point where they go, we can't do this.
Yeah.
So I think that if the adversary was saying, I can make you do these things, then I don't think he would stop. But that's just my personal opinion. I do have no doctrinal base on that, but I just think the magicians are magicians and the sorcerers are just people that can't come up with these ideas and say, this looks similar. So Pharaoh, look, we can do it as magic.
Clive, the only other verse that I wanted to point out is verse 16. It says, "And thou shalt say unto him, the Lord God of the Hebrews has sent me unto thee, saying, Let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness. And behold, hitherto thou wouldest not hear." So the idea is for Aaron and Moses to convince Pharaoh to let them go. And why? What is the purpose? What is the meaning? What is the reason? Well, it says right here that they may serve me in the wilderness. This is a direct contradiction to everything that the Pharaoh believes in himself. In his world, he's the only person that can be served. He chooses who is to be served. No one dictates him by his right as the Pharaoh. He is the one that chooses who is to be served and who is not to be served. So the first issue that Pharaoh has to contend with is this mental issue of, what do you mean there's other people? Why would I let these people go to serve someone else? I'm their rightful Pharaoh. I'm their rightful king. I'm better than anyone else. Therefore, they should be serving me. So this is the first real challenge of Pharaoh has to come to grips with, that there is someone else that can be served. Pharaoh thinks he is above all of them. And so this is also playing away in the background. He's not just about to lose a whole bunch of slaves. He's about to lose a bunch of slaves to someone else who's going to be served. And you'll recall that one of the reasons why they first wanted to put the Israelites in bondage is because they can go to another land and they can be stirred up and they can become enemies of Egypt, and they can join armies, foreign armies, to take over Egypt. So Pharaoh, really, he's a bit of a tyrant leader, and he needs to make sure that these Israelites have no one else to serve and can't even contemplate that there's anyone else to serve except him.
I agree. Just so, he thinks himself as so great that, yeah, he's like, no matter what you do, I won't. These are my people, not your people. Who is God? He says that in the last one we talked about. Who is God that I may serve? What I want to talk about, Daniel, is the start of the first of the 10 plagues. That's in 19. And it's interesting because the Lord spake unto Moses to say to Aaron, because Moses is the prophet, but Aaron's the spokesman, take thy rod and stretch out thine hand upon the waters of Egypt, upon their streams, upon their rivers, and upon their ponds, and upon all the pools of water, that they may become blood, and that there may be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood and in vessels of snow. So it's not just take the river that's in Egypt and turn it into blood. It's every single water source they have, even if they're in barrels, even if they're in pools, they will become as blood under your command. And Moses and Aaron did so as the Lord commanded, and he lifted up his rod and smote the waters, and there that were in the river, and in the sight of Pharaoh and the sight of his servants, and all the water in the river turned into blood. And, this isn't they turned red. This is they turned to blood, because then the fish that was in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink of the water of the river, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. This isn't a magic trick of turning water into red. This is a trick of turning water into blood, so much so that nothing can survive. It's undrinkable. And even it says that they dig around the river to try and get fresh water. They can't. Anywhere they dig, it's blood. But the magicians, they somehow work out a way to do this. And so to Pharaoh, well, this isn't magic. Sorry, this isn't a miracle. This is just magic. I can do that. I've got my guys to do that. I won't let you people go. This means nothing to me. So then in chapter 8, we get straight into the next of the 10 terrible plagues. This is the frogs. It's in verse 2. And if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs, and the river shall bring frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into thine house and in thy bed. It's interesting, isn't it, that the frogs are something, to me, frogs aren't really that crazy. But, and there isn't really much details about the horribleness of the frogs. I mean, it does talk about that the frogs came up and they covered the whole land, but as Josephus actually talks about the frogs and how gross it actually was, and I'm just going to grab that here. So Josephus says this about the frogs. The river was also full of them, insomuch that they who drew water had it spoiled by the blood of these animals as they died in and were destroyed by the water. So the frogs also died in the water. And the country was filled with filthy slime as they were born, as the frogs were born, and as they died. They also spoiled the vessels in their houses which they used, and were found among that which they ate, and that which they drank, and they came in great numbers upon their beds. And there was also an ungrateful smell and stink arose from them as they were born and as they died. So this isn't just frogs are everywhere. This is slime from the frogs, dead frogs, frogs in their beds, frogs in their food. Like, this is consuming all of Egypt.
Frogs everywhere.
Frogs everywhere, basically.
And not to mention that they would still have the stink from the river from all the dead animals. Now there's frogs. They also stink, and they're everywhere. They're taking over the land.
And even so that, yes, the magicians can copy this. They did that in verse 7. But then Pharaoh says, he called Moses and Aaron and said, entreat the Lord that I may take away the frogs from me and from my people, and I will let the people go that they may do sacrifice unto the Lord. So the frogs got so bad, even though he didn't believe that this was the Lord, he got Moses and Aaron and said, look, okay, take your people and go. Please get rid of the frogs.
It's funny because for him to call them and say, get rid of the frogs, there is a recognition on some level that they have control over them. So Pharaoh, even in this early on, this is only the second plague, already has a belief somewhere in his conscience that Moses has control over these things that are going on. He doesn't believe him. He doesn't want to subscribe to him. But in some level, he is already agreeing that Moses knows what Moses is saying and claiming is correct.
Yeah, absolutely. So now this is the interesting one that comes next. So it didn't let it didn't let the people go. So lice. So the Lord said unto Moses, say to Aaron, stretch out thy hand, smite the dust of the land, and become lice. And he did so. For Aaron stretched out his hand with the rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast. All the dust of the land became lice throughout Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enticements to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon men and upon beasts. Now, this is the interesting part. So they couldn't do it. And this is what they say to Pharaoh. And this is 19. Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord had said. So now the magicians and the sorcerer, they're all going, we can't do this. This has to be God.
Yeah, we're out of clues. We're out of tricks. There's nothing we can do here. Pharaoh, this one is on you. We're telling you this is coming from God. You need to make a call here of what's going on.
Exactly. But Pharaoh went, too bad. I'm still not letting the people go. And so in the same chapter, in verse 21, if thou wilt not let thy people go, behold, I will send swarms of flies upon thee and upon thy servants and upon thy people, and into thy house, and the houses of the Egyptians shall be full of swarms of flies, and also the ground whereon they are. So what's interesting about this one is, I was watching this National Geographic ages ago, many, many years ago, and it was talking about how they think the plagues might have come about. And they think there was some kind of poison in the water that the fish died and it became blood. And because that, it attracted the frogs, which then attracted the lice, which then attracted the flies. So it's interesting here that they've gone, we can't copy this, when scientists now, they think they can. God does things sometimes scientifically, so perhaps that's the case. But it's really interesting. The magician's gone, we can't do this. And then when the flies come, from this point on, the magicians don't even try anymore. Or maybe they do try and it just doesn't record it. But now the flies have come. And what's really interesting about this is the flies only go to Egypt.
Yeah, actually, you're right. That's what I was just about to jump in, Clive. But keep going with what you're saying. But just thinking about this, that there is a real menace. There is a specific purpose of where these flies are going now, and it's I'm imagining that if I'm Pharaoh, I'm looking out and I'm seeing a whole bunch of flies here and none here, and there's some kind of crazy invisible wall.
So yeah, exactly. So in 22, and I will sever in the day the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, and no swarms of flies shall be there. Like you said, so imagine being Pharaoh going, all of this stuff is happening to us, but hold on, what's going on? There's nothing over there.
Pharaoh called for Moses and for Aaron and said, "Go ye sacrifice to your God in the land." So Pharaoh here is effectively letting them complete a covenant that they are so desperate to try to go to make. But Moses says, "It is not meet so to do, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to the Lord our God. Lo, shall we sacrifice the abominations of the Egyptians before their eyes, and they will not stone us?" So it's almost like Pharaoh is trying to set up Moses and Aaron, like, go out there and sacrifice. And Moses is like, "But if we do, we're going to get killed." And almost Pharaoh, I can just imagine Pharaoh going, "Well, that's the plan. Can you guys head out there, please?" So he says, "We will go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God, as he shall command us." And Pharaoh said, "I will let you go, that you may sacrifice the Lord your God in the wilderness. Only ye shall not go very far away, entreat for me." And there's this whole conversation. And Moses says, "Behold, I go out from thee, and I will entreat the Lord, that the swarms of flies may depart from Pharaoh, from his servants." And this happens. The flies disappear. And then, of course, as you just mentioned in 32, Pharaoh hardened his heart at this time, neither would he let the people go. So it is not overly clear if they did actually get out there to sacrifice. I guess it does suggest that they do, because Moses was able to ask the Lord to get rid of the flies. My assumption is that he's doing this while he's going through the covenant of sacrifice. But then we have Pharaoh here for another time going, no one's going anywhere. And he also notably doesn't let them go far. Says, when you guys go away to do a sacrifice, it can't be very far, because I need you to come back, because I still own you. You are still the property of Egypt.
Good point. Okay, so anyone keeping track? That was 4. Now this is number 5. This is plague number 5. This is in chapter 9, just straight down to verse 6. And the Lord did the thing on the morrow. So he told Moses what he was going to do tomorrow. The Lord did the thing on the morrow, and all the cattle of Egypt died, but of the cattle of the children of Israel died not one. So this is another miracle now of all Egypt's cattle died, but Israel, just like the swarm of flies, didn't touch the people of Israel. None of the people of Israel's cattle died. So again, another miracle. But then Pharaoh, this is in verse 7, behold, there was not one of his cattle of the Israelites died, and the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go. It's like he's looked and gone, this has made me so angry that none of your cattle have died. So for that reason, I'm not letting you go. Like it specifically says that he looked down, that's what he saw. This is more than just prideful now. This is just wicked. It's more than just, I want these people to serve me. It's, I'm angry. I'm angry at this situation. So for that reason, I'm not letting your people go. So now this one, the Lord, this is in verse 8, and the Lord said unto Moses and unto Aaron, take you a handful of ashes of the furnace, and let Moses sprinkle it towards the heaven in the sight of Pharaoh. You notice that this miracle, Daniel, isn't the rod throwing ash at Pharaoh. And it came to pass, and it shall become small dust in all the land of Egypt, and shall a boil breaking forth with blains upon man and upon beast throughout all the land of Egypt. So now boils will appear on all of the people. This is the next miracle. This is number 6. Boils will appear. And in verse 11, It says, the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boil was upon magicians and upon all the Egyptians. So I'm thinking maybe the magicians tried to copy this, but because of the situation they're in, they just can't. They can't stand before Moses. They can't even try it. They've got boils all over them.
I'm guessing here, Clive, Pharaoh's gone, call the magicians back. They're up to it again. There's almost like a task force put together to try and combat those things that Moses and Aaron are doing. But it is really interesting that there is commentary that they tried to stand up and they couldn't. So it really is just showing how deep this particular plague is. Because now, unlike the others, this is now directly impacting a person's health. Before, okay, the river, it has blood. There's some frogs. There's lice. There's flies. There's dead cattle. No, now we're going to this other level where now this is directly impacting your health and not just your general surroundings. The dead cattle obviously affects what they are going to eat in the future, in the coming days or weeks, or months, actually. But now, actually, this is impacting their health today.
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah, very immediate, an immediate reaction. I'm just going to skip to the next plague, unless there's something specific you want to talk about in between.
No, we've still got quite a few to get through, so let's go.
Okay, so this is plague number 7, and this is in let's go to verse 23. And Moses stretched forth his rod towards heaven, again using the rod, and the Lord sent thunder and hail, and the fire ran along upon the ground, and the Lord rained hail upon the land of Egypt. So there was hail and fire mingling with the hail, very grievous, such as there was none like in all the land of Egypt since it became a nation. This is something that's never happened before in the land of Egypt. It's like saying this hasn't happened in, it's the hottest day on record since Brisbane became a city. Like this is something that's been, like if you think of Egypt, right? You think of the pyramids. Well, the pyramids are like 2,000 years before this. This is something that's so grievous it never happened in the history of Egypt. And what is it? It's fire and rain. It's fire rain essentially. Very just crazy. But again, interesting. 26, Daniel. Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were, there was no hail. So again, protected by the Lord. This is within the walls of Egypt, or within the boundary of Egypt. So, but they're protected. What an interesting sight that would be, to have this fiery rain and then just at one part not affected whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm imagining flooding rivers. I'm imagining the banks of the Nile are breaking. And it says here that there was, in 23, and the fire ran along upon the ground. Like fire is, nothing is combusting, but there's fire. Like seemingly dirt and sand is on fire in what is being described to us. So it's definitely a sight. And then again, you look over here to the east or to the west or whatever it is, and there's absolutely nothing, and they're just having a wonderful time. So if we then go to the next one, I'll just jump in here. So we have Pharaoh having a conversation. So he sends for Moses, sends for Aaron. He said that he sinned. So he's kind of, he's saying, I've recognized the error of my ways. And he says, entreat the Lord. So he says that he's already said this before. He's petition the Lord, go and speak with him. That there will be no more mighty thunderings and hail, and I will let you go, and ye shall stay no longer. So he comes to this point where he promises them, you guys can go. Moses said unto him, as soon as I am gone out of the city, I will spread abroad my hands unto the Lord, and the thunder shall cease. Neither shall there be any more hail, and thou mayest know how the earth is the Lord's. But as for thee and thy servants, I know that ye will not yet fear the Lord God. So he says to them, if you send us out of here, only when I'm gone will I ask the Lord to stop what is happening. But then he says, in reality, you're not going to let us go because you actually don't fear the Lord God yet. The time hasn't come where you have felt the full impact and you believe it in your core that the Lord is in control of this situation. And so now we get the next. And the flax and the barley was smitten, for the barley was in the ear, and the flax was bold. And but the wheat and the rye was not smitten, for they were not grown up. And Moses went out of the city from Pharaoh and spread abroad his hands, and the thunder and hail ceased, and the rain was not poured upon the earth. And now here we have Pharaoh again. Pharaoh saw that the rain and hail and the thunders were ceased. He sinned yet more and hardened his heart, he and his servants. And again, he says that no one's going anywhere. So essentially what Moses said is going to happen now happens basically immediately. So now we're about to see things get worse and worse. If we're going to talk about the locusts next, this removes all their food source. Clive, we're going to talk about darkness. They can't grow any food. So things are now really starting to take turns for the worst. If boils were bad, okay, we can deal with hail and fire. We can deal with the rain. It would have probably washed away some of their houses, made the situation really uncomfortable. But now we're going to take away your food source. Now we're going to take away your light, and so on and so on and so on.
Well, that's exactly right. Like you said, a lot of the wheat and rye were not spent, but the barley, the flax, like that was all burnt up in the fires. Now we got the locusts coming. Verse 4, if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring the locusts unto thy coast, and they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth, and they shall eat the residue of that which escaped, which remaineth unto you from the hail, and shall eat every tree which groweth from you out of the field. So anything that survived the fire, the locust will consume. This is tomorrow's threatening, basically. Let my people go, or tomorrow you'll be bare. We've already destroyed all your cattle. Now the hail has come and destroyed a lot of your grain. Wait till the locusts come. The locusts can be so much you can't see the ground, and they will consume everything. Any tree, anything left in the field will be eaten by the locusts. This in verse 15. I'll go to verse 15, then I'm going to jump back. Verse 15, for they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened, and they did eat every herb of the land and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left. And there remained not any green thing in the trees or in the herbs of the field through all the land of Egypt. In verse 7, and Pharaoh's servants said unto him, how long shall this man be snare unto us? Let the men go, that they may serve the Lord their God. Knowest thou not yet that Egypt is destroyed? So before this happens, the men are going, please let these people go. How much can you do this? And then as we read 15, he let it go. He said, bring it on, basically. I am better than this Lord. I am better than Moses and Aaron. And look what's happened. Everything's been destroyed. And the people are even turned against Pharaoh now, saying, just let them go. In verse 16, again, he says this, and Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron in haste. And he said, I have sinned against the Lord, your God, and against you. So he's going, okay, I'm sorry. I'll be better this time.
Yeah, it's funny, Clive, in the text, I'll just jump in. Therefore, forgive, I pray thee, my sin only this once, and entreat the Lord your God that he may take away from me this death only. Forgive me my sin only this once. Like, I've treated you terribly this whole time. We've lost a lot. We've seen frogs. We've seen fire. And I've told you a whole bunch of times that we're going to let you go, but we're not. And I was going to let you sacrifice, but we're not. But actually, I've only sinned this once. So can you tell God on my behalf that I've just sinned this once, and come on, like, let's just let it go. It's an interesting take that these verses have been left in Exodus.
And then what happens? A couple of verses later, verse 20. But Pharaoh hardened his heart so that he would not let the children of Israel go. So even after all of this, he's gone, actually, now the locusts are going to change my mind again. So now so we're getting into the number 9 here. So number 9 is the darkness in Egypt in verse 22. And Moses stretched forth his hand towards heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? well, actually, this part, and they, in 23, they saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days, but all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. So complete darkness. No one would even go out. They can't see anything. But the children of Israel, again, are blessed to have the light. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because this, how is this darkness, but not around the children of Israel? Like, straight away, it reminded me of the Book of Mormon, when there was so much darkness that they couldn't even light a torch even if they wanted to. There wasn't enough oxygen in the air. It was just absolutely smothered.
This is where light wasn't allowed to exist. Light is commanded to not be able to exist. And this is the similar thing in this area, Clive. I've got the same thoughts that within this particular region, light is condemned. Light cannot be there no matter how hard you try. Light is not allowed to exist. But in the other land, then it's okay.
So in Josephus talks about it. Let's get that out. He says, yeah, a thick darkness without the least light spread itself over the Egyptians, whereby their light being obstructed and their breathing hindered by the thickness of the air, they died miserably, and under a terror lest they should be swallowed up by the darkest clouds. Besides this, when the darkness after 3 days, as many nights, was dissipated, and when Pharaoh did not still repent, let the Hebrews go. So it's not just darkness, it's darkness and death. And even there, as he says, even from that, Pharaoh did not let the people go. Like, darkness and death is extreme.
Sounds awful.
It's awful. After everything. This is not only number 9. There's still another one to come. It's like, how far can you go? It didn't change Pharaoh's mind in 27, but the Lord, no, sorry, I'll read the footnote. But Pharaoh hardened his heart, and he would not let them go. It's crazy. It's a crazy to think that he would not let them go. And now, but Pharaoh gets angry. In 28, and Pharaoh said unto him, get thee from me, take heed to thyself, see my face no more, for in that day that thou seest my face, thou shalt die. So so Pharaoh said to Moses, I'm not going to let your people go. In fact, I'm so angry. If I see you again, I'm going to kill you, basically. I don't want to see your face again. Like, this is just like, it's like his final straw, but it's like, why? Have you not listened to your people, listened to your magicians? How much further can you go? Let's talk about the last plague. Now, the last plague is something that's to be remembered forever. And it is all throughout many religions. This is the Passover. This is when the angel of death will pass over and kill all the firstborn. But there's some very specific things with it, isn't there? It's not just this will happen to the people of Egypt. The Lord has laid out a specific way that this Passover needs to happen.
That's exactly right. So there's a commandment, or there's a quick how-to. There's almost a covenant. So when the Passover comes, there is who is a covenant-keeping people? How do we identify who is a covenant-keeping person? And therefore we will pass over their home. And whatever this curse is going to be, if you're of the covenant, you will not have to worry about this curse. So it is very specific, and it is very strong. There's a feast as well, Clive. There's a feast that occurs, and essentially there's a lamb, and the blood of the lamb goes over the doors, and that blood of the blood of the lamb on a wooden door protects all those people who are inside the home. So I think most people would be familiar with this story, but this is the origins of the Passover that we've experienced recently.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't really, not really sure if it says it, but I wonder if Moses said to Pharaoh, "This is what I'm going to do. It's up to you to warn your people," and sort of put it on Pharaoh, or if Moses tried to tell all the people of Egypt this is going to happen. Like, at what point? Like, who is in charge of letting Pharaoh's people know?
I don't think Pharaoh's people are allowed to know, because they're not part of the covenant keeping. And this is the trick here, that you must be of the covenant. You must have you must have done that to be a part of it. So if you're a part of the covenant, then you would be aware of it, and you're part of that. So in this case, that's not happened. And we see here in 23, for the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your house to smite you. And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. And of course, this still happens to this day. The Passover is something that not in Australia at least. I don't think too many people would be aware of the Passover anymore. But I would just hesitate to guess when religious education was a topic at school 20 years ago, that most people would have been aware of it.
Well, I mean, we still acknowledge the Passover. We celebrate it every single week. When Christ was having the Passover with his disciples, he said that, well, he fulfilled the law of Moses, and he said, now do this and think of me, when he instituted the sacrament. So now the sacrament is something that's to be remembered. So the sacrament takes the place of the Passover, and we do that every week. So now this is a symbol that will be remembered forever. It's interesting as well because it's not just place the blood of the lamb. It's also cook the lamb in a particular way. Eat it immediately. Once it's eaten, if there's any left over, burn it. Like it's very specific. The Lord's laid it out in a very specific way. So it's not just, hey, I've seen that the Israelites are covering their doorway in blood. Let's copy them. The Lord's going to do this specifically in this particular way, so that when this happens, and I know that, like you said, these are the covenant-keeping people. These are the ones that follow the Lord.
So, Clive, this happens, the Passover happens, and we go down to 31. Pharaoh has woken up, and he's recognized what's happened. And he calls Moses and Aaron by night, it says, and said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go serve your Lord as ye have said. It says, take your flocks, take your herds, be gone and bless me also. Get out of my sight. I don't think he's saying religious bless me. He's saying get out of here, and it's better for me that you're gone. And so this happens. The Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of their land in haste, for they said, we be all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs being bound up in their clothes and upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians. And I've got here borrowed means the original word is shoel, which means to ask, request, or even demand. So they demand of the Egyptians jewels of silver, of gold, of raiment, which I almost feel like is a payment. We've been your slaves for all these years. You know, we're talking, what are we talking? 64 years, 40, we're talking 100 years they've been slaves for. And so they're now almost taking payment off the Egyptians. And the Lord gave the people favor in their sight to the Egyptians, so that they lent, or they gave unto them such as the things they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. So we're getting here the fulfillment of the prophecy that we talked about in the last lesson, which I think might have been chapter 5. It's chapter 3. In Exodus chapter 3, but every woman shall borrow of her neighbor and of her that sojourneth in her house jewels of silver, jewels of gold, and raiment, and shall put them upon your sons and upon your daughters, and you shall spoil the Egyptians. This is when Moses was being taught by the Lord what's going to happen in the future. Now we see the escape, and we see that this has happened. There's a request or a demand for these things that I think are symbolic of a payment of a century in slavery. And so they journey away. And of course, we're all aware of the story that comes next.
In Numbers, it'll talk about how many people left, but it talks about how there's 600,000 men over the age of 20. So that's not including women, children under the age of 20, and that's just the Israelites. In verse 38, it says, and a mixed multitude up also with them, the flocks and the herds and the cattle. Look down the footnotes, a blending of many. So this is Egyptians that decided to go with the Israelites as well. So there's many, or people that aren't Israelites to go with the Israelites. So there's many. Cleon Skousen suggested there might have been 2 to 4 million people on this great exodus. So the journey goes on, and I'm not. We'll run out of time here, Daniel, but I will just mention that they go out, which we're going to talk heavily in the next part. But they go out, and the Lord guides their way. During the day, the Lord is in a cloud, and they follow the cloud, and at night he is a pillar of fire, and they follow the pillar of fire. Now, why is this the case? How many times have we read in scripture so far people leaving land to go to a promised land? Many times, and this doesn't happen. But if you remember, I think you read it, Pharaoh says, I'm going to let you go, but don't go too far. He said that earlier in the piece, before all these other plagues happened. So Moses knows, hey, we're going to go, but I guarantee Pharaoh's going to chase us. So we don't really have time to go, which direction do we go in, and try and work that out. So the Lord says, follow me. And the Lord leads them to a certain point. Follow me, and I will get you as far as you need to. And then you can continue on the journey yourself.
Really, really interesting. We didn't get to talk about tefillin, Clive. In chapter 13, verses 9 and verse 16 talks about tefillin, which is a really interesting thing. So if you're listening to this, you're watching this episode, read chapter 13, verse 9 and verse 16, Google tefillin, and
Do you want to spell that for us?
Tefillin.
Okay.
So it's something that Jews have. They still have to this day. If you see any, it's basically a box on their wrist, and it's got two leather straps, and it's wrapped around their arms and up on their bicep, and inside the box is a prayer. And they also have it on their head. It says here, and it shall be a sign unto thee upon thine hand, for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thine mouth. For with a strong hand hath the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. And then in 16, for it shall be a token upon thine hand, for the frontlets between thine eyes, and for by strength of the hand of the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt. So check out what tefillin is. It's really, really interesting, and this is where it comes from. And there's an awesome article that was done out of BYU about, I think it's King David sees the Lord, and the Lord is wearing tefillin. This is another Jewish story, which is almighty interesting.
That is very interesting. I can't wait to hear about that.
Okay, well, we've covered it, and what another great story to talk about. Really enjoying getting through the Old Testament this year. Catch us next week if you could. Hi to Cola podcast, Facebook, Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, and let's keep going with the year.